I'm going to speak about the last 50 years of feminist history, from 60s to nowadays. I'm going to speak about the phases of feminist movement passed through. In the PowerPoint, you can see the first phase is the consciousness raising group. Well, at the beginning, in the United States, women tried to express themselves, trying to say their experiences as women in their society. It was more like a group of where women dialogue between them. It was a therapeutical group, because they tried to think about feminist theories, about feminist thinking, about why males have this superiority in jobs, in economics, in their lives in general. Women felt discriminated, exploited, underestimated, many feelings they had in those moments. Then in these groups, in CR groups, consciousness raising groups, we have an important woman, Janet Freedman. This woman studied a lot in this type of groups. She was the dean of library services and professor of education at the University of Massachusetts. She tried, since her experience, to help women giving services in university, and as dean tried to ease students to shape their own way of education. And then, as voluntarist, she tried to help in groups of consciousness raising, in workplaces, in families, in religious institutions, trying to educate women in feminism. Nowadays, she's trying to write articles about feminism and try to study about the language of feminism in politics, in society, in other injustice. Well, this is current.
Very well.
In 70s,
in the 1970s,
in the 1970s, there was a very important moment, because there was the creation of women's studies as an academic discipline. Women could be informed about feminist theories, about feminist studies, about feminist thinking, and many of women who were teaching in colleges and universities were not they didn't have the doctorate to teach. Then they were back paid, and they worked many more hours than their colleagues who taught other disciplines. Then they decided to study more, because they try to teach women studies, but they are very bad paid. But this studies is not for all women, because there are many backgrounds, housewives, people who are not many education, and then these studies were for women who can go there, who can study normally high class women or class media class women, and consciousness raising groups remain for other type of women, or other type of class women. For example, black women, women who work many hours a day. I have an example of an important woman of this of 1970s.
And she's alive today. She's alive.
She's alive.
She's
the author
she's very
of
good.
Bell Hooks. Is the author of the book Feminism Is for Everybody. She is from Kentucky, the United States. She was born in 1952, and Bell Hooks is not. Okay. Bell Hooks is not her real name. Her real name is Gloria Jean Watkins. Her Bell Hooks is her pen name. She took his name from her grandmother. She loved a lot her grandmother, and she's writing all her writings with this name. She focused in race, in gender, and feminism. She thinks that this society is a patriarchal society because these three factors, race, capitalism, and gender, is not very well played. Then she tried to educate women and people in the importance of feminism, the importance of black people too, black women too, because black women are more discriminated than the rest of the women. And in 1981 wrote the most of her important books. The name is Ain't a Woman, Black Women, Women and Feminists.
Ain't I a woman? Yeah. Ain't I
a woman?
Aren't I?
She explained very well what is feminism. Feminism is a movement to end sexism, sexist exploitation and oppression. Sorry, because I know you are going to.
No, thank you very much.
You have introduced them, and you are going to.
This great woman.
To speak about this woman.
It's great. It's fine. Speak for you.
Okay. The next decade, 80s more or less, there was a new revolutionary feminist movement where women tried to say to our society they were different. They were many of us, and we are lesbian, we are
Heterosexuals,
transsexual,
bisexuals,
bisexual, we are black women, we are housewives, we are doctorated, we have a left-wing ideology, we have a right-wing ideology in political terms, And then consciousness raising groups started to disappear because this movement was very, very important, and the strength of them replaced the consciousness raising group. Then there is an important woman here.
This is teamwork.
Next.
And the next one too.
Next one. Vivian Gornick.
Gornick.
Vivian Gornick is an American critic journalist, essayist, and memoirist. She has published 11 books. The most recent is The Old Woman and the City. She also wrote essays in feminism. I found an interview about why she or how she decided to be feminist. And the interviewer asked her why, how, and she answered that one of the first jobs was journalist in a newspaper. She had to go to see these revolutionaries women in the streets. They took notes about what was happening with these women, and she studied the case, and she decided to link to this cause.
To join them. Yay!
She worked in the New York Times, The Nation, The Atlantic Monthly, and she thinks that feminism is more than is a new vocabulary for her. She uses this term in political and justice environment. There is another woman.
Alice Walker.
She's the youngest of 8 children. Her parents were farmers. She started to be feminist in the university. She decided because she realized that women had they are less men, and she never said their opinion in public. She's an American author and activist. She had a Pulitzer for this book, this awesome book. She is the person who coined the term Womanism. Womanism to mean the black feminism, to color the feminist under this term.
True. Instead of a feminist, she calls herself a womanist.
Well, at the end, the last part is how feminist is now, the contemporary feminism. Nowadays, there is a situation where gender, race, and a world when we all have a good life, a good quality, a well-being, access to our environment in a good conditions, in peace is very important. Then the feminist is going to this path.
Is moving along this path.
We can get it creating strategies, many of them based in political and ideological and educational ideas. the last one, this woman, Zillah Einstein. Well, she is one of the foremost political theorists and activists of our time. In the last 30 years, she has written about the differences between the black and white women in the United States, the struggles of Serb and Muslim women in the war in Bosnia, the needs of women health workers in Cuba, the commitments of environmentalists in Ghana, the relationship between socialists and feminists in union organizing, the struggles against extremist fundamentalists in Egypt and Afghanistan, the needs of women workers in India, the work conditions of young women in the Foxconn factories in China, the organizing of migrant women workers in Indonesia. She is professor of politics at the College in New York. Well, this is all. It's all that I found on the internet.
Excellent. Thank you.